I've gotten into a little controversy, a little bit of debate lately. I just want to clarify where I'm coming from with that stuff because I think it is worth discussion. The target of what I've been writing on LinkedIn, the article, the some of the discussions has been the service member, and a concern that I had why I bit my tongue on it for so long, and why I was worried about how the message would come off. I know that companies, nonprofits, recruiters, entrepreneurs, I mean, these people that I have nothing against, can be collateral damage. These relationships that I value, I may lose some as the message comes off as kind of harsh, and I try to refine it and say it in the right way, but I'm trying to reach the people that are like I was. I was very ignorant and didn't know how the world worked out here in the civilian world. And I think that as I've done my research, a lot of service members do not. And I want them to understand it and learn from the things that I've learned through a little bit of pain and a lot of sacrifice. So that was the intent of that. And I hope that I haven't done too much damage with some relationships that I really value. But I am trying to reach the service member. And the message I think that I'm really trying to drive down to is I've really brainstormed on this and talked to some really brilliant people, a PhD, a lawyer that's actually in our space, and really, really brilliant, and just some interesting people. Um, Tribe mentality keeps coming up. Tribe mentality, and I think if I have a thesis for this whole concept that I'm trying to drive right now, it's the military transition is best represented by a shift from this system, this highly structured system in which you are a member of a tribe. You know, you have a tribe mentality, which is very good and it's a natural thing. So it's a shift from tribe mentality to individual capitalism. And that was my shift. I don't know if that's the same for everybody, but that mental shift from tribe mentality to you're an individual in a capitalistic society, that's a big shift. In the you know, I wasn't prepared for it. I'll say that. So that was the point with some of that stuff. You know, I can only go through this with my story, with my perspective, and I realize that's one small little perspective for a very big thing. So I kind of want to go through my perspective on this and see what other people think. I welcome debate and new stories and new perspectives. For me personally, you know, I came up in a dysfunctional upbringing. I don't bring that stuff up because I think the world owes me something, or woe is me, or any of that. I bring it up because it's relatable to certain people, and behind the scenes, a lot of people are relating to it. So that's interesting to me. So it encourages me to share kind of the darker stuff that I've been through, just because I think people relate. I've faced a lot of that stuff, and I'm in a good place today. But it was a long road to get here. You know, there's a lot of toxic relationships that I've cut out, and that's a topic I really want to explore. I carried around some really, really toxic relationships from a dark past for a long time, just because I thought I had to. Long story there, and we'll leave that one for another day. But my point is, I joined at 17 with this dysfunctional upbringing, and the military was this sanctuary for me in which um, it was system, it was structure, it was an avenue to success, it was a way to get out of this chaos and step into something where all I had to do was work hard. That's really, it was, you know, as you boil it down to the deeper theme, I just had to work really hard. And that was easy. I'd been doing that already. I wanted to drop out of high school at 15 and get emancipated so that I could work two jobs, 80 hours a week. I mean, that's where my head was at as a 15-year-old kid. So luckily, even though I got expelled from high school a couple times, I didn't do that. But my point is, you know, I stepped into this system, and all I had to do was work really, really insanely hard, and I could be successful, and I was. You know, I put on E5 at like 20 years old. I was an E6 at like, I think 24. Not to sound arrogant, just, you know, I just worked insanely hard because success was my only option, and I think a lot of people are like that. Um, but my point is that that became my identity. You know, the military was everything good in my life, and it represented everything to me. The past was dark and the military was bright. I was moving in the right direction, positive. It was my identity. It meant everything to me. And within the military, you find these different tribes. You go from one duty station to another, and you step into this predefined tribe. Like I would step into a new place, and even though I was unsure and uncomfortable, in no time I was one of the guys in the shop, and it was no big deal. You step in, you learn, you eventually lead, you grow, you train your replacement, you move on to your next challenge. And that was kind of the system. And that was really, really healthy for me. And that meant a lot to me. But everywhere I went, it was like there was this tribe waiting for me. And I think that's really important to understand, is that you go to these places and, you step into this culture that's sitting there waiting to embrace you in a lot of ways. And it has its issues. And I know it's not all, sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns, but, for the most part, it's a tribe mentality. And I think that's powerful. I do want to highlight, as I go through my experience, my perspective, I would have stayed in forever. I was too afraid to get out because of what I thought the civilian world was. I only got out because I could have stayed in my tribe. What I mean is, there was a GS position open at 26 years old. I got out to take a GS 11 position because I'd been covering it for over a year and could claim it on my resume, and everything as I did my research looked really, really good. But some people in your tribe suck, and somebody filed a complaint and had that taken off the table. And that's when stuff got real for me in a hurry. And as I went through that, once that comfort was taken off of the table, plan A was gone. I expected to find a system waiting for me to find my next tribe. I'll go through XYZ. I had been through TAPS and they gave me the resources, and okay, there's a system in place and I'll find a tribe waiting for me. And all I have to do is work really hard and step into that tribe. And that's what I expected to find. And I did not find that. And I felt really confused, overwhelmed, and lost. What I realized is I was on my own. I felt like I was on my own as I eventually figured it out. People talk about building a network, and I underestimated that at the time, as does, I think, every single service member that I've ever talked to at first. They think of it, well, I'll hold off here, and I'll say that my networking when I got out meant finding a couple of recruiters. And I thought that these recruiters were my tribe, like, oh, they're being nice to me. And I do want to stress something here. There's one particular recruiter, a retired Navy Master Chief, that took me under his wing. He did my resume for me. He made it look awesome. He prepared me to interview. He made warm introductions with other recruiters, even though I never met the guy. Over the phone, he spent 2-3 hours getting me in the right mindset. Like, those are the people you have to find. Regardless of his title, what he did, like, that stuff doesn't matter. Well, my point with all this is find that guy. He took me under his wing and he took care of me and he shaped me. He took this person that was not ready. I've been talking about market product. If you've been reading the stuff that is a little controversial, I was a product in entering a capitalistic market, and I was a bad product. My resume was terrible. I didn't know how to translate my skills. And this retired Navy Master Chief that was a recruiter now, with a major firm, he meant the world to me. He turned me into a good product. So that's the point that I'm driving to, is find that person for you. It could be a mentor, it could be a formal program. I had different programs I had formal mentors through, and they were helpful. And, but it was, as I boil it down to the one person that really picked me up and turned me into a good product ready to enter this vicious market, it was that retired Navy Master Chief. And I'll never forget the guy. And I hope that the stuff that I've been writing, and it's harsh and it's controversial, and I know that, and my tone is probably not the best, and I need to work on that. But that guy, I owe all of my success to him. I do want to highlight, I needed to stay in Jacksonville, Florida. All of my plans around my plan A with that GS position were focused on Jacksonville, Florida. My life at the time, my significant other at the time, I was engaged. Her career was in Florida. My I owned a house there. Everything was centered around staying in Jacksonville, Florida. I gave that up. That was my big sacrifice. You know, I think a lot of people realize this coming out. Not all of them. You're not going to get it all. You got to sacrifice something. And I've seen some good, Jeremiah Hill, our first guy that we talked to on the Veterans Roundtable. He's got a good system that he picked up from somebody that really gets this point across. You take your 5 things that he breaks down well, and take the rank them, and the bottom 2 throw them out and never think of them again. I've heard tricycle. You've got 3 elements to your tricycle as you get out of the military: your industry, your salary, and your location. I think they are. My old senior chief that I have a ton of respect for put it that way. So what's your big wheel? Is it your location? Is it your salary? Is it your industry? Mine was salary. I had to make enough money. That was, there was no plan B. There's no mom and dad waiting there for me to help me out. So mine was salary because I had to make a living. If you're retiring, you may have more flexibility. If you have disability, that stuff all factors in. And every case is different. What I really want to highlight here is that you may feel really lost as you step out of this highly structured tribe mentality and step into this big sea of capitalism, because a lot of people are operating in a capitalistic environment. It is what it is. It's not a bad thing. It is what it is. That doesn't mean that there aren't people out there with a good heart. It does. I mean, there are going to be good people. There are going to be bad people. There are going to be those that have this title and they have a good heart and they're amazing people. There are going to be those that are seeking that paycheck, that commission, and they're vicious and they're businesslike, and it's no judgment to any of them. It's just you have to learn to navigate that for yourself. And I hope that you're not as unprepared as I was. It smacked me in the face. It kicked me in the teeth. I wasn't ready for it. It hurt. I was. Another point I want to circle back around to, I started by slamming the job boards. I thought there would be a system to put in resumes to do X, Y, Z. Nope. I mean, all those resumes I submitted were a waste of time. The job fairs that I went to, I wasn't ready to be successful and swim in the water with sharks that knew how to navigate that stuff. I was just a bumbling idiot roaming around the job fair and might as well not have gone. So my point is, you're stepping into this brand new, overwhelming abyss of a culture that is capitalism, and you have to understand that. I did not build a network. I did not find a tribe. I stepped in, and with my tribe mentality, I just have to find my thing to step into and work really hard and keep my head down and learn quietly like I always have done. Nope. Doesn't work. You're stepping into a different game, and you have to understand that. As I found my civilian career, and again, I'm always happy to talk about this stuff because there were so many ups and downs and so much stress and so much everything. As I stepped into my civilian career, I think I got caught up in that culture, that capitalistic culture. I became a successful capitalist, if you will, meaning that I learned to navigate that culture and be successful. And I feel like I've done well at my job. About 2.5 years of that, I'm now about 3 years into civilian life. Just hit my 3-year anniversary at work last month. And, for 2.5 years, I think I was operating selfishly, and that's not a bad thing. I had to get my foundation under me. I had to get comfortable. I had to feel, I just bought a house. I'm finally to the point where it's I'm stable. And, that's okay. But I think I looked around and I realized I wasn't part of a tribe. The civilian world doesn't really operate like that, and not at the level that we're used to. Obviously I have peers at work that I have great conversations with, and I have mentors at work. It's just not the same from what we know, and you have to be prepared for that. it's not going to be the same. I don't care how great of a company you work for. Maybe it is, and if so, throw those companies out there. And my company is great. Like I worry about saying that they've been great to me. It's a great opportunity. It's just I think civilian culture in general is tough. It's a tough thing to navigate. It felt like something was missing, and that had nothing to do with my company or the culture. That had everything to do with me and the fact that I was used to, especially in my kind of extreme situation where it's like I've cut out both parents from my life because the relationships are toxic. It's the people that I can pick up the phone and talk to, and how many of them at that time, 2.5 years in, were good influences when I did not have a network. Minimal at best. I do have a great fiance that I share my life with, but other than that, like that tribe that I'm used to professionally, it's not the same. So what happened with me that turned the corner, and if you haven't had this moment, or as you step into civilian life, I hope you find this moment. I reached back, and it was actually a brother of mine, man. One of the people, I was probably 19 or 20 when I stepped in to the shop and served with him, and he was like a big brother to me. And he'd been in the civilian world for a while, and I wanted to help him out, and I had an opportunity that was perfect for him, and I did the legwork, and I was like, man, it would have brought him here to my town, and it seemed so perfect. He was a good fit. The position, they needed him, and I was like, this is a done deal. And it didn't work out like at all. Like something was really wrong, and it threw me off in a very big way. So about 2 weeks after, we tried to make all that happen, and it fell through. Like I was kicking myself, I was beating myself up and felt bad about myself, like I'd failed him. And he started talking about all these great things going on in his life, and I was like, okay, that's awesome. And Dan messaged me one day, and he said, thank you for helping me relight my fire. And that single moment changed my life forever. It taught me that, just reaching out and kind of being there, like trying to show that kindness from, whatever, it can change somebody. And like, I didn't do anything for him. I failed in what I was trying to do, and it lit something in him. And I think he was just rekindling that old bond that we used to have, as we've both been just coasting through our civilian lives and going about the day to day and making a paycheck. It was like relighting something that used to exist in us that was lying dormant. So I hope that if you're feeling a little bit stagnant in the civilian world, you have that moment. I hope that if if you're getting out of the military, I hope that fire stays lit, or, if it doesn't feel lit, I hope you keep it lit, get it lit. And I mean, I've heard this analogy recently, it's if you hold a candle up straight, it just burns down. But if you tip it sideways, the flame just goes up, and you can go around just lighting other candles, and your candle will never, ever burn down. I love that. Like, it's just keep your candle sideways and go find other candles to light. And, I guess my argument with a lot of this would be, you're not going to find your fulfillment in the civilian world. You're not going to find happiness and fulfillment until you are part of a tribe and you're doing things to help other people. If you're doing what I did for a couple of years and just working to pay the bills, it's just not fulfilling. You got to find ways to give back to the world. I don't know that you do that on day one in the civilian world. Obviously, you have to take care of yourself first. I think about stepping into a new command. I would step in. I would learn from the ground up. I would eventually step into a leadership position and, like really grow and develop myself. Then I'd seek the next challenge. And I think that mentality, like embrace that mentality and don't lose it. Don't forget to go through that process and learn and grow constantly. It's so huge. So as I kind of close this out, like I just really want to emphasize, like I firmly believe, and there's a book on this, I think it's called Tribes. I forget the author's name, but it's the military to civilian transition. Like if you're not prepared, it really is a shift from tribe mentality to individual capitalism, and that's tough. I think if you understand it, you can attack it and keep a tribe with you, build a tribe early, whatever that looks like for you. But that mindset, I think, is key. Do you have your tribe right now? Like, I'm building mine, and it feels good. If you want some perspective on this whole game, I encourage you to do something that I've done recently. Go to an active duty Facebook group. If you're active on LinkedIn and you see the power of the veteran community on LinkedIn, go to a Facebook group that's active duty focused and see where their mindset's at. Do you have something to offer them from the other side? If you've been a veteran that's out for a while, if you've kind of seen what's going on LinkedIn and you like it, is that tone there on in that Facebook group? Because I went to one that a buddy brought me to recently, and it's the active duty community. I threw it out there and just tried to feel them out, and I think these concepts need to be brought back to them. I think that the active duty community is severely underestimating their transition, and I don't think the solution is to set up a new program or another nonprofit. I think the solution is just the connectivity I'm not a social media person. I've always hated it, but I hate to say it, but I think it's the solution. You can go to Facebook right now, and I've got 10,000 Navy first-class petty officers, E6s like I was, that I can communicate with. As a civilian 3 years into civilian life, as a veteran 3 years into civilian life, that's powerful. I don't know that everybody's thinking like that. We can all connect in that way. So when I drive towards hey, the answer is connectivity, togetherness, brother and sisterhood, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking to the service member, and I'm not the good people out there that are running a nonprofit, the good people out there that are part of a company, the good people out there that are recruiters. I will throw those people at those good people all day, and that's the connectivity that I'm talking about. I'm not bashing everybody that's a recruiter. I'm not bashing the nonprofits. I was trying to create some kind of awareness that it's a mess that you're stepping into. This whole civilian capitalistic culture is a monster when you're not prepared for it, and I wasn't. That's what I'm speaking to. For me personally, this Veterans Roundtable community that's building, the LinkedIn group, the stuff that I've been doing with Joseph Loudon, who's crazy busy and at home getting some rare family time right now, and we'll be back to do some more of these interviews and stuff. But this community that we've built has changed my life. No joke. It's when, I was missing that sense of brother sisterhood. This is where I found it. So, to those that have kind of been a part of this ride with me, thank you so much. That have been a part of this ride with Joseph and I should say. This community means the world to me, because I felt so empty, and I knew what was missing. It was that brother and sisterhood that I miss so badly, and this is my way of getting it back into my life, and that's powerful. That's life-changing. So this thing has been my fulfillment, and it's just getting started. So, to anybody that's hung around to the end of this little rant, I hope that you find whatever that means to you. The civilian world doesn't have to be this empty as it was for me for a while, where you can find your community, you can find that brother sisterhood, and I hope you have it. If you do, that's awesome, and I hope that you bring more people to it. I'm not out here to recruit for the Veterans Roundtable. That's not what I'm doing. It's just a thing. So anyways, I hope that, I'm really obsessed with this tribe mentality right now. I want to study it more. I think it'd be an interesting scholarly journal kind of thing to dive into. I hope that people consider that concept. I think it's huge, but have a good weekend.